lab is separate from the lecture, right? But some are overlapping. So for example, we talk about reactions. So we do not talk so much about reactions because we're learning about techniques, right? But there are a few reactions, the SN1, SN2, there's a mechanism about that. And then there's the kinetics, solvolysis, okay? And then the last experiment would be also some reactions, right? So, okay, so so this is experiment 1, and if you go back to the video, the right answer for the solvent that was chosen is water. Some of you answered, you go back to your lab report, or although I did not take out points depending on your reasoning, you answered PET ether. The answer was either PET ether or water, but the actual answer is water. And I think I did not, when we did the pre-lab, I said observe what I did. And if you use petroleum ether, it will evaporate fast. Water will not evaporate, so it took longer. Okay, so you can go back to that part that I was choosing. The first part is like choose the solvent, and the water is the right answer, okay? So it depends on so what is the property that you're looking for? It's the solubility. So if you use water, so I use this information. So solubility, so in that experiment, you have benzoic acid, oxalic acid, and methyl orange. The methyl orange, when I filtered it, went through the filtrate. The oxalic acid you don't see because it's white, but the solubility of oxalic acid is a lot higher than benzoic acid in water. So therefore, 143 grams per liter, okay, is the solubility of oxalic acid, because this one contains 2 carboxylic acids. And then benzoic acid will have a benzene, so it's more hydrophobic, but it has carboxylic acid, right? But the solubility is less in water. So if you have a mixture of oxalic acid and benzoic acid, and if you're using water, it's difficult to isolate oxalic acid using water because the water will dissolve all the oxalic acid. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So water's the answer, but okay, let's see. So for example, this is oxalic acid, right? The structure of this contains 2 carboxylic acids. So it's more soluble in water, okay? So, while benzoic acid is more hydrophobic. So the structure of benzoic acid, you have a benzene, and then carboxylic acid. So this would be more hydrophobic. It has less solubility in water than this. So therefore, if you're using water, it's difficult to crystallize this because it's all dissolved in water. This one will come out in solution. You get that? The solubility of this is a lot lower. So it's 3.4 grams per liter. This one is 143 grams per liter. That means that for 1 liter, you can dissolve 143 grams, but this one, you can only dissolve 3.4 grams, okay? You can convert that to milligrams, okay, per ml. It's the same, right? It's the same. But this one, the lower the number, the solubility is low. So this one, if you're, say for example, you're using 10 ml of water, then all of these will dissolve. All of this will dissolve, but not this. All right? Not all of the benzoic acid will dissolve, but you're going to dissolve mostly oxalic acid. So if you're crystallizing it, you have oxalic acid. Say oxalic acid is triangle, okay? And then you have square, benzoic acid like this, okay? 4 molecules. This oxalic acid will dissolve in water, and it's not going to come out of solution no matter how much you lower down the temperature. This one, like 1 molecule will dissolve in water. This one is going to be a precipitate. okay? But some of the benzoic acid will still dissolve because it has some solubility. Get that? So, therefore, if you're using 10 ml, so I illustrated it here. If you're using 10 ml of water, some of the benzoic acid will still dissolve, all right? But some will precipitate out. So you cannot recover everything, all right? So there's a maximum recovery depending on the solubility, and that's how I illustrated it here, right? So, so the first technique that we did was recrystallization. So recrystallization is to purify a solid. You cannot use recrystallization to purify a liquid. So only for solid samples. Okay? So the next, and then we did a melting point to determine if it's pure or not. Determine purity. So remember these techniques because it's gonna come out in the exam. The next experiment is about distillation. Okay, so distillation now is for liquid samples. So don't distill a solid sample. Make sense? Okay, so you're gonna put this together, and when I ask, okay, purify this, what technique are you gonna use? If it's a liquid sample, you're gonna use this. Solid, you're gonna use that one. Okay, and then to determine purity, if it's solid, you're going to use melting point. Don't use gas chromatography. Okay, so now simple and fractional. So we differentiated. We used simple, but it was a video, right? Simple and fractional. So we did fractional and then as well as simple. So in general, the fractional will give you a better separation because it has like a, I would say, a speed bump, right? You slow down the distillation of the components because there's like obstacles, right? So that's what we did, or in the video. So fractional distillation, better separating components due to the packing. So the packing will give you the steel wall, will provide simultaneous evaporation and condensation to happen, but if you have simple, it's just going fast, okay? And then, so this, the mixture is miscible, meaning you don't see a layer. And the boiling points of the, okay, so we did, so it depends on the boiling point. For the distillation, because it's miscible, say you have component A, and then component B, has a higher boiling point. The boiling point of the mixture is going to be in between. So you have, for example, say this is 100 degrees C, boiling point, maybe this is 150. The boiling point of this is going to be in between. But it depends on the ratio that you're putting in together. Say 50-50 is going to be in between. But if you have more of A, it's going to be closer to 100 degrees. If you have more of B, it's going to be closer to 150. So the total pressure, all right, or the boiling point is going to be dependent on the number of moles. Okay? So that's what the equation is. And then review the liquid vapor curve that I put in the PowerPoint. So go back to the PowerPoint. So when you're studying this, go back to the PowerPoint, okay? And also your lab report to review. And then distillation, how you determine the percent, so I think we had percent ethanol versus percent propanol, okay? So we did this from the gas chromatography, right? Like this, okay? So I'm gonna give something like this, the graph, and then you're gonna get the peak area, add it together, and then get the percentage, okay? And you will know the higher the peak or the larger the peak is, you're gonna have higher percentage, is the most. So higher, mole percentage goes up, less, lower. Okay? So the first peak is gonna be the peak that is going to have a low boiling point. So for example, ethanol and propanol, because this is smaller, right? So this is 2 carbons, and then propanol 3. So therefore, this will come out first. So for example, if I now use pentane and hexane, pentane is 5 carbons, it's gonna come out first. And then hexane next. It's not gonna invert, okay? So that's the determination of percent composition. So that's how you're gonna review. Right, so the third one is now steam distillation. So we use water. So this one is another distillation, but it's now steam, right? So we combine water and oil. So you use this to avoid the composition of the oil. And, okay, so the fractional, I erased it already. So the fractional, I said component B, component A. The boiling point of this is going to be in between the boiling points of the two. But for steam distillation, the component B is the oil. And then component A actually is water because you have steam. So the boiling point of the mixture is going to be mixture is going to be less than water. The boiling point of these, or approaching water, but it's not in between. The boiling point of the oil is higher than the water, but the boiling point of the mixture is going to be lower than water. So there's a difference between, because this is immiscible. So immiscible doesn't mix. The boiling point of this is going to be less. This one isn't going to be in between because it's mixing. When it's mixing, there's an interaction. So therefore, to convert a liquid to a gas, if it's interacting, you're gonna break the interactions. That's why it's actually in between. But this one, there's no interaction between water and oil. The boiling point is gonna be less than the water. So you avoid heating it up so much and avoid the composition of the oil. Okay, so so therefore, if you compare the total pressure, the number of moles did not get into the equation, right? There's no N in here. So it's independent of the number of moles. And then we also did liquid-liquid extraction, so that's another technique. So we can erase this one. Okay. So the other technique we did was liquid extraction. Okay, so we use, in this case, methyl tert-butyl ether, and that's lighter, so the structure of MTBE, tert-butyl, and then this, okay? So ether, ROR, ROR, okay? So this is lighter than water compared to if you have a chlorinated solvent. So when we did the extraction for the clothes, right? So we did this, it's a sep funnel. Okay, so the water is going to be at the bottom, the aqueous. So we call it aqueous layer. And then the organic layer is going to be on top. So the organic layer with MTBE is the organic layer because that is lighter than water, okay? However, the oil went into the organic layer, plus, okay? And then you extract it and then you take this out and then you get the oil, you evaporate MTBE and we took IR of the oil, okay? So we took the IR of it and then we compare and then we we look at the IR and see if there's an impurity or not, and then that's how we use it to identify functional groups, and then we learn how to assign absorption gradients for a table. So I'm going to give you a table, and then I think I gave like a handout, right? So it's going to be similar to that one. Okay, so that's experiment 3, and then 4, I asked one question about R and S, and I think some of you guys like that question. R and S, means a compound, diastereomers, enantiomer. So it's the same as the handout.